Everyone, welcome to the Power Hour. We're going to give folks just a couple of minutes to get in and get settled before we start. So we'll come back to you in a minute. Hi, everyone. Just giving folks another minute. We'll probably start at just 3 minutes past. You all know how it is when you go from thing to thing. So I want to just make sure we give everyone a chance to get here. I still see a lot of folks hopping into the call. So one more minute and we'll get started. All right. Let's get started with the Power Hour. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to join us. My name is Dee Zeph. Hopefully, a lot of you know me by now. I want to welcome you. We launched this series basically to give you direct access to us, Syncro experts, people who are building, testing, using the product, and also our partners who are using products and they're going to share their own best practice. So our goal is really just to make sure you walk away with like tactical advice and strategies to get the most out of Syncro. As always, we're going to wrap up this session with a Q&A so we can get your questions answered live. We're absolutely going to record the session. We're going to make sure we post it in our community. We'll follow up our conversation in community after this. Today's topic is about how to configure and get the most out of your Microsoft 365 integration with Syncro. To lead it through it, I'm excited to introduce Vance Forbush and Lee Ramsey from the Syncro product team. They're going to be joined by two of our amazing partners, Danielle and Len. We'll intro them later. And these folks are going to share with you step-by-step guidance, best practices, and help you tackle just common pain points. Couple of quick notes for you all. Housekeeping. We are going to record the session. As I mentioned, we're going to post it in the community after, along with any key takeaways and resources that we'll put in the community. We ask that you use that Q&A module instead of the chat. If you have questions that you'd like us to address, it's really challenging to pull questions out of the chat. And so if you can use Q&A, it will really help us to make sure we can cover as many of your questions as possible. And with that, let's dive in, and I'm going to hand it over to Vance and Lee. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Dee. Appreciate that. And welcome everyone to our second Power Hour, where we're going to discuss the Microsoft 365 integration and really share some best practices with you all as far as how to get the most out of that. So as Dee mentioned, I'm Vance Forbush. I am a product manager with Syncro, and I've been spending a lot of my time working on the Microsoft integrations and really finding ways to help you all find value with getting the most out of your Microsoft 365 management. And I'm joined today by my co-host Lee Ramsey. So Lee, if you want to maybe say a few words and intro yourself.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, folks. My name is Lee Ramsey, and I, like Vance, have been working with a lot of you to figure out the best use of M365, the things that really, unlock the power of it within Syncro for you and make your lives easier, right? And so today we're going to talk about some configurations that will do just that.
Perfect. All right. And so what we'll do now is just look at a brief agenda for what we're going to cover today. I'll intro the Microsoft integration that we have, just give a really brief overview on that. Next, we're going to do a walkthrough of the setup. So we're going to look at the permissions. We're going to actually go through that step by step. I know I already saw a comment in the chat about really being interested in seeing how this works and what we're going to do. So Lee's going to walk us through that and give some tips and some best practices there. And then once we've shown you how to get everything set up, we're going to talk about those features that you get with the Microsoft integration. So we'll look at the security baselines that just went live a few weeks ago with our July release. We're going to look at the Microsoft user management and the actions that we give you and make an announcement there on that front. And then as Dee alluded to at the beginning, we have two amazing partners who are going to join and give their experience with with getting everything set up and how they're using uh, the Microsoft integrations in their day-to-day operations. And then we'll finish up with our Q&A. So if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in. But with that, we'll go ahead and jump in. So, with what you get with the Microsoft integration, we're really looking to help you secure and manage your Microsoft 365 tenants. So you can connect an individual tenant or multiple tenants. You can connect your entire CSP, and you're going to get an hourly sync of your Microsoft users. You can sync users based on your groups, domains, office locations, or their Microsoft license. So there's multiple ways that you can sync your users for management. With the baselines, you have the ability to perform security best practice assessments. So you're able to continuously monitor your tenants and your environments for compliance against the CIS framework. And then with the Microsoft user actions, you have the ability to reset passwords and MFA methods directly from Syncro. So you're not having to jump between portals to do that. You have all of that where you already manage your users. So it's really aimed around providing you with the ability to, within one interface, have the access to those tenants and unlock a lot of difficulties that are natively available with Microsoft, right? So you're not going to have to jump between portals. You're not going to have to remember which client you're working with and run different commands. You have all of that available directly. And so to get all that great stuff, you have to go through the setup and the integration of connecting your tenant your Microsoft tenant to Syncro. And so what we want to spend some time on now is walking through what that looks like. So I'm sure there's going to be questions on this, and we will give you some insight and some best practices to do that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee, and he can walk through the setup.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Vance. I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll go through it. So there's an interesting history around Microsoft 365, delegated admin permissions, GDAP, all of those things. So it used to be super simple. They gave you, as partners through Partner Center and through Lighthouse, global admin access to all your customers, assuming you set up a relationship with them. Super simple, but not particularly secure. So about 2 years ago or so, they created GDAP, which is like granular delegated admin permissions, privileges. And that allows a much greater level of granular control over the access that you and your engineers, folks in your company have over your customer tenants, right? But that adds complexity because it's not just a single role, it's a bunch of different roles. And so, as we all know, there's a lot of services in Microsoft 365. And of course, they all require different levels of access, different privileges, those kinds of things. So the first thing I just want to point out from an integration perspective, we definitely recommend creating a Syncro service account. It does need to be a global admin in your tenant. So in the tenant you log into day in, day out, it does need to be a member of the admin agents group, which should give it that role. And then it also needs to be prompted for MFA, and that MFA has to be Entra ID MFA currently. Some of the latest documentation from Microsoft indicates that in preview, they're testing out third-party MFA for Partner Center and all that good stuff. So that may be a change here coming in the future, which is very welcomed. But those are a couple of things from a user perspective. So whenever you're authenticating, doing this integration, those are things that you need to set up on the in your tenant. I'm not going to go through that and bore you with how to create a user. But what I'm going to walk through today is actually how to set up the GDAP permissions, because Microsoft doesn't make it particularly easy. And it's just a complex process to make sure that you're providing the best level of access, the right level of access, and of course, being security minded as you access your customers' M365 tenants. So we're going to start in Microsoft Partner Center. There's two different ways you can do this. You can do this through Partner Center. You can also do this sort of en masse through Lighthouse. We have full instructions, full videos for all this on our website in our Doc Center. I'm going to walk through the Partner Center piece though first. So if you're following along, this is something you're wanting to set up, you just go to partner.microsoft.com. In your sort of app widget at the top, if you're in an admin center, you can also click on Partner. It'll take you to this exact same spot. We're going to click on Customers. We're going to click into a customer. I've already picked one, which is a Cyberdyne test. And we're going to take a look at admin relationships. And so ultimately, the things that you need to be successful for GDAP is essentially three things. You need a admin relationship with your customer, you need roles within that relationship, and then you need a security group that's assigned to that relationship. And so we're going to walk through each of those steps. The first one is just creating a relationship. You'll notice that I have a number of them. I've done this a couple of times. And so we're going to request a new relationship. We're going to name it. You can give it a duration, and then I think that 730 is the most. So you can do like 2 years. It'll yell at you if you go more than that. And then we're going to auto extend this as well. So this will allow this to extend by 6 months at the end of that. The most critical piece of this step, though, is picking the correct roles. There's no way to edit this once you save it and finalize it. That admin relationship is set in stone, at least for now, with those privileges, those roles, and you'd have to create another one if you miss one. And so this is where it gets a little interesting. They're not in alphabetical order. In our documentation, we do have them in logical order, though. So there's 12 specific roles that you need, and you have to have all of them for this to work. So we need an Exchange administrator. We need a cloud app security administrator. And so bear with me as I click 12 boxes. A Teams administrator. SharePoint's down here, I'm sure. SharePoint. Intune. Cloud device administrator. A couple of privileged authenticated. So privileged authentication, privileged role, both of these. A user administrator, and then an application administrator here. And then two more. Here at the bottom, we have a little bit further. Security and authentication policy. There should be 12 in all. This is a great time to review. So don't have all of my hands up. 12, I have 12 there, that's great. We're gonna finalize our request. And this is basically just creates the admin relationship with your customer with these roles. The next bit is that this relationship has to be approved by an admin at the customer. So Microsoft gives you a handy little template that you can use. You can send this email to an admin at your customer. If you have an admin, you can actually just use this link to approve it. So I'm going to go do that. And then the interesting thing about this is that it may look like it's not working for a second there. Microsoft puts a delay in between before you can actually access some specific buttons on that page. So I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment once it goes through, but it takes about 15 seconds or so just to make sure you or your customer is doing their due diligence. And so once that's done, you'll basically get a role review screen that looks like this. So this is my customer tenants. This is my Cyberdyne tenant. Here are all the roles. Here's everything that we're consenting to for a customer that our customer is consenting to. We just click next, and that'll take us back essentially to Partner Center. So we'll give that a moment. Like all things Microsoft, it needs a little bit of time to provision. And so, great, up and running. So the next thing that we need to do, hey, it's active, that's great. Hey, it's enabled, also great. Those are the things that we want to see. We're going to click into this relationship. And the next thing we need to do is we need to assign a security group to it. And so basically the way this relationship works, or these relationships work, is that you're creating a relationship, you're picking the permissions or the roles that are available, and then you're picking who has access in a granular way. And so in this case, we're going to make sure that admin agents have all of the roles enabled. We'll click save. And now you can do this a couple of ways. Admin agents is a handy way to do this because it only requires a single group, right? You need the user to be in the admin agents group anyway. So if you just add the roles to this group, then you're good to go. Everything's done. You're ready to integrate, which is great. Alternatively, if you don't want to use the same group, you can add another one. So you can pick a group. Maybe I want developers, just for the sake of argument. Again, pick all of them. And then you're able to, you'll just need to make sure that the user that you're authenticating with is also like a member of this group, for example, if you don't go with the admin agent option. I will say one thing that I've seen, and I think this is how SIP does it, is that they'll do one security group for each role. Right now, the system isn't checking for each, like for a amalgamation or an aggregation of roles. It's looking for a single security group that has all of the roles at the moment. So we have a backlog item to address that in the future, because I think a lot of people are configured that way through SIP. So if you do have it that way, where it's one role per group, and then your user is a member of each of those groups, it won't work. You're going to get an error that says either missing security group or missing roles. So it's looking for all the roles in one security group. So just a little hot tip for me, and something that we have on our to-do list to fix in the future to make that more seamless for folks who are already using a great tool like SIP, or a fantastic partner and a great M365 management tool. So that's basically it. From there, all you need to do is go into Syncro and integrate using the Cloud Solutions Provider option. And this will go ahead and sync it up. Now, I will say you do need to do that step for each of your customers. You need to make sure this happens for all of them. Like I say, Lighthouse is another option. You can do this in mass, create a template, assign it to everybody. And we have full instructions on how to do that in our Doc Center. So that's how you configure GDAP for M365, however you want, but in this case, specifically to integrate with Syncro and our Microsoft integration. Back to you, Vance.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Lee. Yeah, I think that's really great to show. And just from viewing some of the comments, I think you're definitely, providing some good insight with that. And yeah, I think anytime you deal with Microsoft and their permissions, things get a little bit tricky. So it was great to see that live, and hopefully that helps and allows people to, continue to integrate so that way they can get access to the features we have here. And so I think this is a good segue into the actual the goodness that you get with our Microsoft management features once you've gone through that. So you've gone through configured, you've gotten everything set up and integrated, and now we want to look at what you get with that. So the first thing I want to talk about is the security baselines and really go beyond the checklist. What you get with this is we're analyzing and really looking into each tenant and comparing them to the CIS framework, and we're running rules based on our compliance best practice. So this audit report is a great tool for executive summaries, or if you're doing a QBR with any of your customers, because you're able to show them in a nice visual template, and there's a great assessment that gives you details and insight into it goes a little bit deeper into the tenant and the compliance, but it gives you a nice tool that's going to allow you to show the current state of your customers' compliance, any areas that are out of compliance, these rules that are failed that are not meeting those compliance standards, and it helps you make a path on really where we're going to go to increase security. So if we can remediate these 3 rules that are failed, for example, we can increase your overall security posture and really add value that way. Our baselines run twice daily. So I know just from sort of looking at the competitive landscape, not everyone does that. If you have a security assessment that runs, sometimes they run once. And so being able to run this twice daily gives you a couple of different data points as far as being able to see and check the compliance. One practical tip here is that, so we do offer notifications for the rules in the baseline. So if you want to turn that on, you'll be notified when a state changes. So if a rule was passed on Monday and the next time we run it Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning, that rule has failed, you'll get a notification. We want to make sure that we're enabling Syncro notifications as well. So in the notification center, you want to go in and turn those on for the baselines. I know we've seen some items come up where you turn on the notifications for the baseline itself, but you're not getting those. So we want to make sure that you're all aware that we want to go into the notification center to turn those on. And then that way you won't have to log in and view the dashboard here. You'll be able to get notifications whenever a rule falls out of compliance or whenever a rule is failed and then passes. So wanted to share that. So if we can move on now to the Microsoft user actions. For user management, we're giving you near real-time control of emergencies. So if there's a case where you've detected that a user account has been compromised, we can go in and reset the password, we can reset MFA, and you can do that all within one portal and one interface here. So you're able to directly detect which tenant and which end user needs those actions performed, and go ahead and take those actions directly. A nice thing here is that you can delegate access out. So you don't necessarily need to have full admin rights. You can grant this permission to your technicians, and then you can have scenarios where maybe your level 1 or your frontline technicians can perform these actions without needing to be full admins. So you don't ever need to give direct access to the Microsoft portal. You can do that directly within Syncro. One note that I want to mention here is specifically related to the MFA reset and the MFA status that we see. The graph endpoints require that the tenant has at least an Entra P1 license. And so if a tenant doesn't have that, we won't be able to get the status for the MFA status. So we're looking at potential updates for that right now. But as far as looking at MFA status, it does require that P1 license or higher. And then in keeping with the identity security and the user management that we're providing, I wanted to give a little bit of insight and make an announcement here. So you are all the first people to hear this and to see this. But the next user actions that we're going to be releasing are going to be revoking active sessions and blocking and allowing users to sign in. So again, taking that idea of securing our users, if we see a situation where that user's compromised, resetting the password, revoke or resetting the MFA authentication methods is nice, right? But it still leaves some holes. So being able to disable that user directly and then revoking all active sessions really just felt like the next natural progression of this feature. And a lot of the feedback has been gearing towards that. So the next actions available will be those 2. We're actually going to be starting the early access for this. So at the end of the session, actually there it is, right on cue. There's the link to sign up for EA. We're looking at doing this early next week. So feel free to sign up for this, and we'll get you going with getting these new user actions enabled and going. So we've looked at getting everything configured. We've looked at what you get as far as the benefits go of using the Microsoft management. But what we want to do now is shift gears a bit and turn it over to 2 of our partners to give their experience and then give their best practices or any tips they have come up with as part of going through this process with us. So with that, I would like to introduce Danielle Zink from Orchestrate, and Len Kaplan from, I love this name. The acronym is CDML, but I prefer to say the full name of Computers Dominate My Life. So I got to say, I love that name. And definitely appreciate both of you. So I don't know if Danielle, you'd like to give maybe just a quick intro on yourself before we jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to be here today. I'm with Orchestrate Technologies and I'm our VP of sales, but I've been with Orchestrate for 11 years now. So I actually was heavily involved with the Syncro integration and worked heavily, I think, with Lee and Rob to get this set up and kind of have a couple tips on little nuances or kinks that we hit. So definitely can share those with you guys.
Great. Welcome aboard and appreciate your time, Danielle. And then Len, if you'd like to just introduce yourself briefly.
There we go.
Here it is.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, everyone. Len Kaplan, CDML Computer Services. Yes, computers dominate my life and all of our lives at this point. We're an MSP in New York City. We're a small team of 7 people handling roughly around 3,000 endpoints. Um, and Syncro is a great tool. We've been with Syncro for the last 3 years, I believe. We switched over from a competitor. I'm not going to mention anybody, but what I love about you guys is the actual fact that you listen to the feedback and you do try to implement it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly appreciate partners like yourselves to really make it possible for us to do what we do. And so we're really excited to have you both on and to share your stories. So I think where I'd like to start first is we watched Lee go through the integration, and there's obviously some kinks in that, and I know Microsoft doesn't always document everything 100%, and not everything's always as apparent as it could be. So I think Danielle, if we could start with you, and maybe you can just give us a rundown on how that experience was, if there was anything that you learned from that, or any tips or best practices that you would want to share with anyone who might be currently struggling with that or working to get that integration set up.
Yes. So for the most part, yes, exactly what Lee did was what we did here at Orchestrate. We did the CSP integration. We did give it a few days, and the one error that we ran into, I'm not sure if any users out there have this, but it was the consent failure error. It showed for just some of our tenants. And I worked with the Syncro team, and it turned out that there was a couple false positives for risky sign-ins. So if you guys see that, it was a very, very easy fix that Syncro let us know. We just went into Entra. It was under ID protection, and then we cleared out any of those risky sign-ins. But with that, it did not automatically update. So we had to disconnect and then go ahead and start fresh with the integration. So I think that was the biggest nuance that we ran into. Again, once we figured out what it was, super easy fix. So if anybody does run in or see that error, just keep that in mind because it might save you a lot of time. So I think that was the biggest thing that we ran into. And then I saw somebody, and the question was answered, I believe, but if we used the same login for Syncro that we did to go ahead and generate the relationship in Office 365. We did, and we didn't have any issues. So not sure from Syncro side if that's recommended, but we did do it that way and it works just fine. So, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that really speaks to some of the complexity that is introduced with Microsoft. I know we were helping a partner the other day where we were working to get the graph module installed in PowerShell, and they kept saying it was not a trusted a trusted module,
Yeah.
even though it was Microsoft trying to, Microsoft saying they don't trust Microsoft. So I think there's always those little gotchas there that pop up, and definitely appreciate that insight. Len, I think same question to you. If you have any other thoughts on that or any comments that you'd like to add as far as computers dominate my life's experience with getting everything set up and integrated.
Sure. So when we first decided to implement this integration, we said, hey, we're already with SIP. It looks like the requirements are pretty much the same. Let's cheat a little bit and save ourselves some time and just use the same user, and that failed miserably. So the best advice I can give you guys out there, just create a new user. We made it very simple. We called it Syncro, right in the Microsoft tenant, and just follow the document, assign the needed permissions. Once that was done, we were able to bulk register everyone, and we actually did not run into any errors. But once everything was said and done, it's just don't take the shortcut. Don't follow our dumb lead.
Yeah, I think that's I know I certainly learned from or try to learn from other people's experience. So that's really great insight. And I think that really speaks to the fact that sometimes just trying to simplify that and make it easy out of the gate isn't always the answer. So I appreciate you sharing that. So now once the integration has been done, and now Danielle and Lee, you're both up and running with us, and we've seen just through some interactions and some meetings that you're both using our Microsoft integrations for your day-to-day operations. Len, we'll start with you on this one. Do you have any insight as far as how your team is leveraging the Microsoft integrations to help just kind of streamline business and operations?
Yeah, so we usually get a fair number of calls about people forgetting their password. People can't log in. Silly stuff, because people are too lazy to change their password on time, and they put things off, things like that. So before we had to assign those tickets to a tech. Now we actually have our receptionist handle things like this. Great time saver for my tech team.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I think that's really one of the primary use cases with being able to delegate access like this, is that you can do something like that where you're not necessarily requiring a technician or an admin to tie up their time with that. You don't really necessarily need a whole lot of technical expertise to be able to do this. It's just, as long as you have access to Syncro and you have the correct permissions through that security group, you can go in and perform some of those, mundane, day-to-day operations that, you don't necessarily want your technicians tied up on, right? There's more things that they can be doing to serve your customers with. So it's really great to hear that you're able to leverage that. Danielle, same question to you. If you can maybe give some insight into how Orchestrate is using the Microsoft integrations.
Yeah, I will definitely echo what Len said about the time saving with the resetting passwords. It frees up time, yes, but it also allows our techs to focus on more project-based stuff. So kind of letting them work on things, because let's be real, no one loves resetting passwords. So it lets them do things that they maybe enjoy a little bit more than that. So absolutely agree with that. The other piece that's been really big, and I didn't think it would be super helpful, it's just a tiny thing, but we love it from an onboarding piece, is that it will bring over all the contacts from Office 365. So when we onboard a new client under end users, instead of having part of our onboarding checklist used to be, hey, let's get a list from HR, look at the contacts, make sure those are all entered in there. That step is completely out at this point, because we just connect the new customer with the CSP integration, and then it brings over all of the employees. The only nuance, I guess, with that is that it does bring over unlicensed accounts, but that's the only nuance, I guess. But we clean that up a little bit, but it still gets rid of the piece of us having to get a list from the client. So those are probably the two biggest things. We're definitely really excited about the the new release with the blocking sign-ins. I think that will be another time saver as well.
If
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
could just add to that, Vance.
Sure.
So the only, as long as we're talking about this, the only gotcha in this bringing over the list that we ran into is we have multiple clients who are under the same tenant, use multiple domains, and all of those domains, as long as it's the same tenant, all of those domains coming over. So we could have 20 Bobs under one tenant. So that's a gotcha. Just be careful with that.
Yeah, and I think that there are different options as far as how you choose to synchronize users from the tenant. So you can do, department or by the license. So I think in a situation where there's multiple domains and you might have a clone army of Bob, so to speak, you might want to, look at potentially leveraging one of the other methods to pull users in. So, but that's a good point, right? Is that you might not necessarily be aware of that. And so in your case, Len, that was something where you have to then go and clean it up.
Right.
And okay, no, that's great insight. Len, I know when we were talking on the phone, you were mentioning about using the secure score and being able to provide that. Do you want to maybe go into some detail on how you're leveraging the secure score with your customers?
Yeah. So one of the things that we do with our customers is we try to run the report for them and just show them, hey guys, this is what needs to be done, right? Because nobody likes to spend money, but when something is staring them in the face, they reluctantly agree often.
Right.
And this is something that actually came out from our conversation, the security essentials. I was not even aware of it. We were running our reports out of SIP. We are a SIP user, and out of Lighthouse. Now we're looking at this in security essentials, but I still don't see the reports that I talked to you about. So maybe that could be in the I don't know, September release.
Yeah, we're definitely looking at ways to enhance reporting. So I think maybe as a spoiler alert, more to come on that in the near future. But yes, so I think we'll definitely be able to help pull some of that data in because I think, like you said, it's a powerful tool. It's way more powerful to say, here's some data and here's where we're seeing, you might be out of compliance than just, kind of giving a blanket statement that, yeah, we know there's some things that are wrong and we're here to help, but having that data to back that up, I think is really powerful. Danielle, I don't know.
Everybody loves the picture.
Yep, absolutely. Giving a full complete set. Danielle, I don't know if you have any thoughts on like the secure score or the compliance scores, but if you have any thoughts, that'd be great to hear your experience on that.
Yeah, so the secure score has been helpful. Yes. We did use another tool in the past for secure score, so we actually were excited that Syncro was able to implement this in. It's just another reason why we use Syncro, just because you guys are consolidating a lot of the tools that we're using. So right now, that actual feature in Syncro, we haven't used a ton because we're moving away from the tool, but I guess to answer your question, yes, we're able to move away and start using it within Syncro, so that's exciting. So it's saving us money by you guys actually having that in there, which is great.
Awesome. That's good to hear. The more ways you can use Syncro, the better, I think. So definitely happy to hear that. The one last thing I want to say before we turn it over to the general Q&A is, Daniel, I see a reference to the syndicate on your background. So I know maybe if you can give us a little bit of insight into what that is and what you're doing with that, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, so the syndicate is actually from, it came from one of the pack events that Syncro had for members. And there was kind of an overarching, like, hey, let's create an alliance where we can actually, instead of being competitors, we're all across the nation here. How can we kind of team up and use each other's resources? It's hard to find good people. So how can we help one another and kind of be resources to each other? I do see a couple people that are actually attendees that are part of the Alliance group already, so that's really exciting. But basically what it is, it's an alliance of MSPs across the US here. and we will actually host annual events with the Syncro team, and we'll be able to kind of help each other with resources. And all of the partners are Syncro MSP partners. So it's not anybody that uses any other tools. So definitely, if you do just even want more information, I do have the QR code on my background, or you guys can reach out to me directly to kind of learn more. But it's definitely something new that we're getting started. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think just having a community of like-minded professionals that like you said, you're all trying to solve similar problems, and you all are trying to find ways to provide the best value to your customers. So I think that's an outstanding idea. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Um, all right. And so with that, I would like to say, a giant thank you to both Danielle and Len for being willing to volunteer your time on a Friday afternoon to share your experiences. So, certainly feel like that was probably better than listening to me ramble on for an hour. So, huge thank you for both of you for doing that. And we certainly appreciate your partnership with us in really working to make a better product. So thank you both for your time today as we go through that. So Dee, I think with that, we can probably open it up to the Q&A. I see that there's been several questions answered, and there's some questions we want to take live here. So
yeah, let's do it. And yeah, Danielle and Len, please, stick around. Maybe people have questions for you. We'll answer some questions together. Yeah, thanks again. I might kick it off with the first one. There was a high-level question asked at the very beginning of the session, really just kind of like, what is XMM really? Like, is it a rebrand of our RMM, and kind of what is it? And so XMM is really the name of the unified platform. So it's RMM plus PSA plus the Microsoft 365 management. And so the third leg of the stool, the Microsoft management, obviously is what we've spent this whole session on. But when we talk about RMM, it's really an umbrella term that encompasses the whole platform. So that one's done. And then, yeah, maybe we can just kind of go through the list and people can pick up questions as we go.
Yep. I see one here from Craig asking for, after you block, can you re-enable the user? Yes. So that's really the second part of it. So when we go live with the next set of user actions, blocking the user is part of it. But then if you have a user who's been blocked, you can then re-enable and allow that user to sign back in. So you'll be able to do both actions through Syncro.
Great. I see another question here, maybe Lee for you, but from Craig, of like, when will the ability to add our own tenant? Will we have that, or can we only just add our client tenants?
A great question. And the good news is you can do that today. So you're actually now able to add your own CSP tenant through the single tenant option, which will allow you to manage it. So there's kind of two options there. The CSP option, or the cloud solutions provider option, will allow you to pull in all of the like child tenants, all of your customer tenants, and then the single tenant option will allow you to manage your own.
Cool. Another one might be for you. Are baselines going to be added to? Are there going to be more and more detections?
Absolutely. That is a great question. The answer is yes. We have quite extensive roadmap and plans for new rules, additional detections, additional frameworks, those kinds of things. We definitely have a laundry list of those. There's a ton of them out there. And, we're prioritizing them. I think the thing that I would love to know from the community is, like, what's the most important thing? What are the most important detections for you? What are the most important frameworks that you're using day in and day out for your customers and regulated industries, those kinds of things? So as we start thinking about those, let me know in the community. You can email me directly. As much information about rules, baselines, frameworks as you want to give me, I'll take.
Yeah, absolutely. Our community is a great place for that, as well as in product feedback. So yeah, to that point, there's another thing that came in from Bill, basically saying his screens looked a little different than some of the screens we showed. And he's like, I didn't see compliance details that would let me do all these things. And so I will say we had a few mock-ups in there that are mock-ups, not live screens. We are always trying to design for the future and test out, like, what things we might implement. And so no promises, but if there are things you see that you're like, oh, that's what I would need, that's what I would want, it's your reactions to things like that that make it much more likely that there'll be things we will build into. So our bad for maybe sneaking out some early designs and some future possibilities, but hopefully it was inspirational and you can let us know which parts of it you liked. All right. Anyone else want to pick up a couple?
Just looking through the list.
Oh, actually, Lee, maybe there's another one here for you. We can also go over some of the ones that answers were typed to, if there's any you want to speak to. Oh, wait, let's see. So this is from Joel saying yes to Lee, to all 4 of the actions. If we're doing a full tenant lockdown, we want all 4 actions. So I guess it's not really a question as much as it is Joel saying, heck yes, please do all 4.
Yeah, it was a response to a question I asked him, which
Yeah.
was, "Hey, can you do everybody?" Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so it was great.
Great. All right, this one I'm not sure about. So Len, I guess when you were talking, and if we don't have the answer, we can always take it offline. Was talking about multiple domains, and this person is saying they've deleted their older domain, but then the next sync kind of pulled it back in. And is there a way for them to get around that?
So we're in the same boat. We, like I said, we still have our 20 bobs, right?
Okay,
But we just kind of, now that we know what's going on,
right. Now
we're
you clean
used
it up.
to, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we should probably try to figure out a way to get at least some better instructions out there for things like this. Okay, great. Thank you.
Looks like there's a question came in that, does the Syncro admin user need to have a particular admin role? Great question. So for that, like, service account or account you're using for the integration, it has a number of things that you'll need. If you're just adding it as a single tenant, it just needs to be a global admin. If you're doing the cloud solution provider or CSP implementation, then it does also need to be a global admin, but it also needs to be a member of the admin agent's security group in your tenant, and it also needs to be prompted by Entra ID MFA. So specifically Entra ID, and it must be prompted. It's not enough that it has it configured, it has to be prompted during the integration. Good question.
I see a question from Rich here asking, along with resetting the MFA, will we be able to remove devices used to set up MFA? That's a great suggestion. It's not something we currently have on the roadmap, but I think that's, as we continue to evolve and build out the, the user actions and the management options that you have, I think that's something that would be a great thing to add. And again, just, I would ask, leverage the community, reach out to us directly if there's anything that, as you're using us to manage your users, if there's anything, I would really love it if you gave me the ability to do this. That feedback's great for us to work to incorporate some of those things.
Good. There's a really good question here, which is just a great foundational one. Like, what is CSP, or what is a CSP? I'll do an okay job explaining it, but it might actually be a better question for either Danielle or Len. But essentially, CSP is a Microsoft program that allows you to resell Microsoft licenses. And it also gives you certain, it gives you certain responsibilities, but it also gives you certain abilities and privileges within your own tenant, like Partner Center and things like that, where you're able to connect and administer to customer M365 tenants from your own tenancy. I'll see if I can get some resources into the chat as well for that. That's a great foundational question, especially if you're new to Microsoft and M365.
I don't know, Danielle or Len, if you have any other, tips or things you'd say to someone who's unfamiliar and maybe kind of hopping into the space a little bit.
Ladies first.
I was hoping you would take it. I'm not the best. I will be transparent. I know a little bit about it, but it would be better if I got back to you. If Len or does not know, I'm happy to do that. Yes.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the cloud service provider program from Microsoft is for MSPs who there's two structures, right? You can either just have the client deal directly with Microsoft and you have your own admin account in there and you manage whenever they call you, whenever they ask you, or you take on the added responsibility, but there's also a little money with it because now you're buying that subscription from somebody like Pax8 or Ingram or whoever your vendor might be, and you're reselling it to your client. You're billing them, but then as an MSP, you're also now have the capability of managing a lot more of their tenancy, of their permissions, and so on and so forth. So it works both ways. On one hand, yes, you do have that added responsibility to your client now because you are their provider. But on the other hand, when something does go wrong or whenever they need something, it makes it a lot easier because you can do it all right through the portal or through tools like what Syncro is offering, or SIP, or directly on the Microsoft portal.
Great. Thank you, Len. And then maybe one last question for you, Lee, and then maybe we'll wrap this up and take it over to community for anyone who wants to continue. So the question here is, will there ever be an exclusion option for instances on the sign in to shared mailboxes blocked if no one's needed, so it won't flag as failed? So detailed question, but important one.
Yeah, great question for sure. Yeah, so exclusions definitely something that's in our backlog and our roadmap. There's a lot of different things that can mean. Like they can be really granular, or it can just be broad. So like just kind of exclude this from a template for a customer, or like exclude this specific thing within the rule. So we're exploring those options, and as we get closer to those types of things, we'll also be reaching out to the community and finding out what do you need, how do you need that to work, so that we can make sure it meets that need. Absolutely.
Great. So the last two, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So one is, will this integrate to the Syncro mobile app as well? That's a great request. It's one we've heard and we've logged. I'm assuming especially the user actions would be very convenient to have in the mobile app. So that is something we will take into consideration. And then the last question is linking the documentation for setting up the integration. Two things here. One, if you just go to docs.syncromsp.com, you can just type in Microsoft 365 and the documentation will show up for you right there. We'll also post all of these links into the community site after this. We'll be in the community site after, answering any other questions that come up for you after you think about this or go through it, or maybe if you're trying something on your own. We don't obviously want to replace support. So if you're having an individual, kind of issue with your one tenant, we'll try to answer some general questions for you, but feel free to hit us up. I hope this was helpful. More to come. I think in 2 more weeks, we're going to have a power hour where we talk a bit about patching policies and using scripting to set up your assets. And so please join us in our community, keep the conversation going. Let us know if there's anything you want to see from us, either in sessions like this or in products. We're here for it. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, folks. Bye.